Hi YouTubers, Tim here. I'm getting ready for the next YouTube RC builds. What I have in mind is taking any old short course chassis, 1/10 short course truck or 1/8 buggy chassis and turning it into a trophy truck. What I have to start with is a Racer's Edge Pro 4 Enduro, incomplete. I have the parts to complete it. It's just worn out, and I'd rather do something else than just put it back stock. So we're going to end up splitting this in half, and we'll end up having two front halves. So we're not just going to build one trophy truck out of these chassis. We're going to build two. And this here is the very first RC I ever bought. I'm going to give it what it deserves. I'm going to cut it in half and make two front halves and turn this into two trophy trucks. So out of two short course chassis, we'll end up with four trophy trucks. The part I'm going to love is testing. So let's get on to the build. First things first, we're going to strip both the chassis. I'll start with the plates and see what we need to do. I truly believe this is going to work because of the very first RC I built. Without knowing it, I think I started something. Simply took the front half and copied it onto the rear half and made it a four-wheel steer. So I don't see why that wouldn't work with this either. I have already done a few experiments. With this one I gained maybe half an inch more on suspension travel. I've already experimented with shocks. These shocks are 5 millimeter longer than the stock ones. I think it'll work out pretty good. The Red Cat, I'm not sure about the shocks and stuff on it just yet. But I have experimented with stuff. And now you know why I've put the crawler tires on the short course wheels. I will show you why. It is close in comparison with the Baja Ray. It is just a hair bigger and a hair wider. So, I'm kind of okay with that. And I noticed something else too. The Red Cat wheel and tire, I can continue to use that one with this build because it is in the same comparison as this Baja Ray. There's really not much difference. So the Red Cat wheel and tire is going to work out perfect. I won't have to buy any new ones. Something else something else about the Baja Ray. If you look at this tread, that is very square. Every time I race that truck, I got to be careful to not roll it over. This tire has tons of side bite. It rolls way too easy. The crawler tire that I put on the short course wheel, pretty much the same thing. So this Red Cat tire, that I think is going to be beautiful. I think this is going to work out rather well. So now you know why I did the crawler tire onto the short course wheel. One more thing that I've experimented with. At the time of starting this build, you could not purchase an axial or low-C rear end yet. So I looked and looked. What I found was you could purchase a twin hammers rear end. It is not the same width as the low-C Baja Ray or the axial, but with extensions, no problem. And you got a little more control on your wheel dimensions and stuff like that, and you can use more. What I've done is, and I made a video, I could not find any links that were 150 millimeter in length. I had some extra shock links from the HBI Crawler King build. They happen to be 30 millimeters long. So what I did was purchase 30 millimeter in length M4 standoffs, and there's my 150 millimeter front links. This happens to be an HPI alloy drive shaft. This is the axial bot lower link. What I had to do to make this rear end work, the twin hammers, I had to flip the diff over. It goes in the wrong direction. In order to flip that diff over, there is a piece of plastic, and it's most likely for the assembly line, so they don't put in the diff wrong. I had to carefully shave that out. Then I could flip it over, and it goes the correct direction. The last thing I had to do was figure out what extensions to use. These are 25 millimeter, and they're my favorite. They are the ones with the pin with the O-ring, but they take a bolt, and you can dress them up. I have some fancy M4 washers with some M4 hex head bolts. I could have went that route, but I love these tube nuts. Ended up drilling this out and using the tube nut. I got best of both worlds. So this so far has been a very good combination. I was going to take this to my machinist, CNC machinist, precision machine. Hot Rod's what I call him. He's done probably 90% of the bling on all the hot rods I've ever built. So we were going to do some alloy bolt-on link connectors onto this twin hammers axle, because the link connectors were angled in. They would not work. So I had to straighten them out. The quickest remedy, this is epoxy for plastic. It actually works. I've already tested it. It does great. It's held up. I didn't think it would, but it does. So tried to make them as neat and clean as I could. So it turned out okay, I suppose. For now, anyway. So there's one experiment. And here is the what I've been testing it on. I'd been testing that twin hammers rear end on my low-C, and the thing is holding up great. So as far as I'm concerned for rear axle, we've got it figured out, and I believe it's going to work great. I'm going to leave this axle on the low-C for quite a while. I have packed it with grease just like I did the low-C. It doesn't heat up. It's going to last a good long time. I believe it will. The only way we can find out is in testing. So let's get on it. What I'm going to do to make this a little simpler to split in half is measure the center of the center diff, score line, and that's where I'll cut it. I'm going to be using the Baja Ray cage, so I'm going to have to be adding material around the plate to match the cage, and that will hopefully be enough plate to mount the other section of the center diff. So what I'm going to do is measure between these holes and split the difference. Should be exact center right there. Something else on this Pro 4 Enduro, I'm going to experiment. After I cut this, I'm going to experiment with the rear arms. I did some looking, and it seems like the front C-hubs, all the steering components will mount to those rear arms, so I may not have to get some new front arms. They are wider, and on a pre-runner or trophy truck, the front is wider than the rear, so this may help. So as soon as I cut this, I'll get on that experiment with the front end. I won't have to drill any new holes in the rear, but I will have to figure out how to mount a front bumper. You know, no problem. By using these 3 sets of holes, I've come up with a center line, and I took the liberty of marking the 4th hole for the motor mount, so that's already good to go. Alright, so this is what I have so far. I took the front plate with the hole I drilled for the motor mount and fastened them together. As you can see, I drilled a wrong hole. You'll have that. Anyway, that's from not being too careful. Anyway, so I fastened the top plate onto the lower plate. You actually, if you wanted to mimic the front plate, you could mark out and cut the front plate out and just take it to a drill press and start drilling. And you would have 2 front plates. Well, I don't want to do that just yet. I'm going to separate these two and do some steering experimenting on the rear arms and see if that's going to work. All I've done so far is I took a stainless polishing disc and smoothed out and rounded the edges, because the plastic plate that I'm going to be cutting to widen and lengthen these to fit the cage, it's got to be able to fit in this real nice and snug. Alright, so let's get to experimenting on the rear chassis plate.